Hey everyone, I'm super excited about this mystery box and the Infusible ink scattered dot patterns that are in it. The colors of the Infusible ink made me think of Halloween. So I know it's January, but we are doing a Halloween project today. So I'm going to be doing an Infusible ink coaster, and I'm using the square coaster today. And I have the Easy Press 2. So I'm going to go to images first, and then I immediately clicked advanced search, and that gives me our old screen back, which is what I prefer. I'm going to type in Halloween, and I already searched it and picked my image like I usually do so we don't have to scroll together. And then I'm going to click bookmarked to find what I was looking for. So I'm going to do this image. Now, Infusible ink needs to be done in one press. So I am doing 3 colors that will need to be put together to be done in one press. Nothing is overlapping, so we don't have to slice and set anything for this, but we do need to put it all on one carrier sheet. So I'm going to show you how we are going to do that. So I'm going to add this to my canvas, and the square coasters are about 3.5 inches. So I'm going to change my design to about 3.25 wide. And then I'm going to ungroup it, and I see that the pumpkins are grouped, so I'm going to ungroup those. And then I'm going to select Trick, and I'm going to hold the control button on my keyboard and select Or and attach them together. Because they are the same color, I want them attached, and I also want it to hold it in place so I don't have to manually line it up. It makes it easier this way. I'm using my Joy Extra today, and I have my machine set to Joy Extra, so we are good to go. I'm going to click Make, and I don't need to save it right now. So I'm going to do it on a mat, click Confirm. The first thing I do when using any material that needs to be mirrored is I go and I mirror all of the mats before I do anything else. Now, because we do need to have one carrier sheet for everything to cut on, I am going to use my biggest part of the design, which is this purple layer, to cut my full carrier sheet. So I'm going to cut a 4x4 piece of the purple, because that's going to give me the space I need to add on the pumpkins and the treat part. So I want everything on one carrier sheet, so I'm doing a 4x4. That will give me plenty of room. But because we are cutting one material, I can move everything to the same mat. So for this, I can drag and draw around both of these and move them at the same time. So I'm going to move them over here, click the 3 dots, move object, and select the purple mat. I'm going to click Confirm. It's going to move those pumpkins to the purple mat. Now, because the pumpkins are on the purple mat, they turn purple as well, but we are cutting them out of orange. And now we are going to do the same thing with the black. We're just going to move it. I always move it on this mat, on the mat that it's on, to where I want it on my physical mat before I move it to the purple mat in this case. I find that easier. So I will do that, and I'm going to click Continue. My machine is connected via Bluetooth, but I have 2 extras and my daughter has 1. So it's trying to find a machine, but it doesn't know which one to pick, so it's going to have me select it. If you have more than one machine, of the same machine, it will do the same thing, but if you only have one, it should automatically detect it. We're going to browse all materials. If you have an Explorer Air 2 or a machine with a dial, turn your dial to custom. I recommend just leaving it on custom. You always get this screen, and honestly, it's just easier to search this way, and you never have to worry that you forgot to change your material setting. So I'm going to choose Infusible ink, and I'm going to click Done. Now we'll go over to my materials and my mat. We'll cut everything down, put it on the mat where it's going to go, and then we'll cut it. Now, just because I want to make sure I have everything in the right place, I'm going to click Edit right here under my mat. And if I click on this, it brings up my guidelines, so I can use that to make sure I have the correct size of everything. I can also move the objects here. So say I want to move these like this instead, I can do that, which actually I might do that. I think I'll use, yeah. All right, so I'll do that. So you can move them here too, and then when you're done moving everything, you just click Done. And if you had forgotten to mirror, you can do that here as well. So let's go over and cut my materials down and place everything, and then we'll get cutting. Okay, so the Infusible ink, it gets taped on the sides, which I already slit. I usually just use my true control knife, and then you open it up, It comes in a black bag. Keep this black bag. I put it back in the box. This is how I store everything. But keep this black bag. The ink can fade with the sunlight, so you want to make sure that it's protected. So I'm going to pull out, you have your butcher paper inside, and I'm just going to pull out a sheet and cut that down really quickly. I actually have taken all of the butcher paper out of all of my Infusible ink boxes and just put it all together. I do recommend that, so that way you know how much you have, instead of cutting a piece here and cutting a piece there and then going to do it and realize you don't have a big enough piece. So I want it bigger than my coaster. Doesn't have to be perfect, but we'll just cut it bigger than that. And I'm not putting this butcher paper back in the box. I'm going to put this, and then I do have like a section for full sheets and then sheets that I've cut down so that it's all separate and I know if I need a full sheet, it's there. This little plasticky piece I left on here, this comes in the packaging with the Infusible ink. You just throw these out. It's just so they don't scratch each other or anything. So throw that out. Now I want to show you, there's also, you'll get one of these, keep it in the box. It's the silica gel. It prevents moisture. And then you're also going to get a little scrap of cloth in here. It's polyester, and it's to do a test press. So if you're unsure how to use it, what it's going to look like, do a test press. And you'll get it in every box, but since there's 4 colors, I would recommend not using the full piece for one color, save it. You can also just go to like the fabric store and grab a whole like thing of polyester and press randomly on it, but that will show you color. So I want to show you here, see the difference in the colors? The ink is heat activated, so it's going to be dark like this after we press it, but right now it's much lighter. I actually feel like the purple looks dark still. I'm going to pull out the black because that one I know really shows you, here we go, how different it is. See how light the black looks? But once we press it, it's nice and bright. So I wanted to show you guys that because I like to keep that in mind. So Infusible ink is what they say, shiny side down. And that's the same as iron-on, shiny side down. So I'm going to show you the back here, shiny side. And then your ink side goes up. And actually this orange, this was the best example. The orange, you can see the color difference here. So I'm going to cut this down. Remember I said I wanted my purple to be about 4 by 4. So instead of using my scissors, I'm actually going to take my True Control knife and my ruler here. And now we want to be careful because the ink, if it gets scratched and any ink is removed, that ink will be removed when you're pressing your design as well. So keep that in mind. You want to just slide it across very carefully. So I'm going to put it right here on my mat. I'm going to go 4 inches up and 4 inches over. So I'm going to do this where I'm going to kind of just mark it here, put a little slit, and then it is curled, so I'm trying to prop it up against my extra there. You also want to make sure your hands are clean and dry. Any spots that get on this will ruin your ink, so you do want to be very careful with it. So, is my head in the way? Sorry guys. Sometimes I forget how close I am. So then we're going to do this, and I'm going to put this at right here. So this is an 18-inch ruler, so I'm putting it at the 14 mark here, and then we'll cut it down. And then I got it stuck to my mat. We are having a messy day today, guys. So, well, I am. I don't know about you, but we're just gonna cut it down here, and then there we go. Go. And I have that, remember, right here in this corner. because I try not to touch it with my hands like I just did, your brayer tool is great. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place my other pieces off camera and then we'll come back. Okay, so my mat is ready to go. And I did try to keep in mind that I'm using designs where I want a lot of the color on here. And I know this is kind of a scatter pattern. So when I cut it down, I did try to keep in mind that I wanted to keep as much of the color as I could. So I'm going to open my Joy Extra. And this is an auto feed. So as soon as my mat hits up against the gray rollers, it's going to feed in. So I'm going to do that, and then I go over to Design Space, and I click Go on my screen. I'm going to let that cut, and then I'll come back to weed with you guys. Okay, so now that I have everything cut, before I start weeding it, I'm going to start heating up my Easy Press. It does take a few minutes, so I usually start it now. That way, by the time I'm done weeding, I can start pressing right away. So because I'm already in Design Space, I'm going to click the Home tab here, and I'm just going to click Heat Guide, and it's going to open the Heat Guide in my browser for me, which is super easy and convenient. I'm going to be using the Cricut Easy Press 2. Just use all my pop-ups. So I already have that selected. My heat transfer material will scroll all the way down to Infusible ink transfer sheet. And my base material is the square coaster. Now these are only for Cricut blanks, so remember if you're not using a Cricut blank to follow the directions for whatever you're using. And then I'm going to click apply. So 400 for 60 seconds. So I'm going to go back over to my camera, we'll set up my Easy Press, and then I'll show you guys how to weed Infusible ink. Okay, so this is the 6x7 Easy Press, which Cricut doesn't make anymore, unfortunately. This is my favorite size. But the Easy Presses all work the same way. So you turn it on, you press the heat icon, and you pull it up to 400. And then you press the heat button again to set the temperature. And then we're going to do the same with the time. I already have it on 60 seconds, so we don't need to. And then we're going to let it heat up. It will beep, and this button will turn. It's orange now, but it'll turn green when it's ready. Okay, so that's going to heat up. I'm just going to set it aside. You're also going to want some heat-resistant tape. This is Cricut's brand, and I know people ask all the time about the dispenser that will fit it. This is just the Amazon Basics dispenser. It comes with a bunch of tape with it as well, but I just use that otherwise. Okay, so remember, we have more than we need on this design. I can cut off just the ink here and save the part I didn't use, but we need that carrier sheet, so I'm not going to do that. Now, if you've never weeded Infusible ink, you crack and peel. So you're gonna, you hear that crack? So that's how you do it. You crack and you peel. And I usually just go like this, listen for it to crack a bunch. And you do not use a weeding tool for Infusible ink because it can scratch the ink. But to get it started, I always do right up in the corner here where there is no design, so it doesn't matter if I scratch the ink, and I get it started for me. So you guys can see I did that. Now I do have some, see that already heated up, so it's faster than me, which is saying a lot if you know me. And then I've got little pieces in here. So these I can just peel out. Now you'll notice there's still some paper there. That's fine. As long as there's no ink on it, leaving paper there doesn't matter. I am going to weed this off camera just because it's going to take me a little bit longer than I had anticipated, and then I'll come back and we'll put everything together. Okay, so I have everything weeded. I have my purple layer, which you can see is bigger here, and I'm going to line that up on my self-healing mat here, so that I can make sure when I put down the rest of this design, it is even. Okay. Make sure that's even. This is sticky, so it's a little hard. Okay, so there's a couple ways that we can make sure this is lined up straight. What I'm going to do here is put my cutout underneath and line it up. I'm going to tape it down because that's going to be easier for me. Okay, so I'm actually going to line it up first. And then I'm going to put this over it and line it up. Okay. Alright. And then what we will do here, it's so sticky, I might have to tape this down too. Alright, I'm just going to tape the top down. Right here. Okay. Alright, and then I'm just going to take each piece off of here and put it on the carrier sheet lined up with the cutout. So I will take this off when I'm done. This isn't perfectly pressed in place because I'm just lining it up to make sure I'm good, and then I will officially press everything down nice and securely, but I want to make sure I have a little bit of wiggle room before I do that. So some people will just cut the entire design out of the purple color and then take the outside part off, place these in. But I was able to save that remainder of my Infusible ink. So right here, I was able to save that. So I didn't want to waste it. It's up to you what you want to do. Okay, so now that's good. I'm going to take my brayer and just press that securely on there. And then we'll lift this up, and this can go in the trash. And then my little pumpkins here, I forget which way they went. I'm going to look at my design quickly. And these I'm just going to kind of place wherever in here. It doesn't have to be perfect. This part you have a little bit more leeway with. Okay, there we go. And I don't think that's not perfectly lined up, but you know what I'm gonna do? It's not perfect, but that's okay. We can still do this. It will work because we'll still do it in one press. That's the key, one press, even if it's not one carrier sheet. So I'm just going to cut this down. We don't want any overlap of the carrier sheet because anything that's on the carrier sheet will press onto the carrier sheet and not onto our coaster. So I'm going to, this is my other Easy Press mat. I'm going to lint roll my coaster. Any lint that is on here you can't see, but heated at 400 degrees, it's going to show up as blue speckles. So you want to lint roll that really well. I have a lint, oh here it is, perfect. I have a lint-free cloth too, so I'll use that as well. Then what I'll do is I will put there's a little piece of something on the back of my carrier sheet too, and you want to make sure it's not lint or that will also show up. Nope, that's on the front. Okay, we're hot mess crafting today, guys. So I'm going to put this on, okay, and then I'll line this up and put this on. This still may not be 100% straight, but that's all right. Okay, now these are pretty stuck on there, but I am going to add a little bit of heat tape just to be safe. Okay. And I do secure it on the back. Now I don't know if you noticed, but for the, there's a little something on here. I'm getting that off because I don't know if it's lint or ink. It could be, honestly, cork from the back of this. This, I don't know if you noticed because I don't think I pointed it out, but there's no pressure. So I'm going to put my butcher paper over my coaster. And then I'm going to set my Easy Press on top. I'm going to click go, and I'm not even touching it. We're just going to let it go. And then it is a cold peel. So I'm going to let this go. I'm going to take it off. I'll remove it from my mat and let it cool down, and then we'll come back and peel it. Okay, it's done, it's peeled. A few things I want to point out here. If you notice on this pumpkin, you don't really see its face because of the way the design was cut into it. So remember earlier I said I wanted to get the most color. It's hard to tell with some of the patterns how it's going to turn out. And then on the T, there's supposed to be like a drip like this one, and I lost that one weeding. So that's okay. But overall, I think this is really cute, and I really like this Infusible ink for a Halloween design. I think this is pretty cool. So if you guys have any questions, let me know.